So I'd like to call the TCHC Public Board meeting to order, and I'd like to say good afternoon. My name is Adele Imrie, and I am Chair of the Toronto Community Housing Corporation Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome everyone to today's meeting. It's a virtual meeting via WebEx and will be live streamed on YouTube. I do apologize for the delay in the start time. I would like to begin with an acknowledgement that the land we all sit on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. It is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. We also acknowledge all treaties people, including those who came here as settlers, as migrants, either in this generation or in generations past, and those who came to us here involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. We pay tribute to these ancestors of African origin and descent. Now, as we open this meeting, I'd like to note that we start today's proceedings with a new mayor, Mayor Olivia Chow. Mayor Chow has an extraordinary career of public service, and I was very happy to congratulate her earlier this month on a successful campaign. Mayor Chow herself was once a member of the board of Toronto Community Housing, so she knows the importance of affordable housing as a fundamental element of household success and stability. I am certain that TCHC is ready to support Mayor Chow as she takes on one of Canada's most important offices, and we look forward to working with her in the future. I'd also like to turn our attention to another important leadership update. Earlier this month, it was my pleasure to announce that Tom Hunter, currently the CEO of Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation, will be taking on the role of interim CEO at TCHC. Tom and Jag have worked closely and collaboratively over the last year, along with the TCHC ELT, through the transition of the seniors portfolio to the newly established TCHC. I know that they have been working together to ensure a smooth transition, and Tom will join us with a strong working understanding of the opportunities that lie ahead for TCHC. In order to further this transition, Tom will be working alongside Jag during the period from July 31st, Monday, and August the 15th, which will be Jag's last day as president and CEO at TCHC. As Tom starts his new role here, Jag will be stepping into his new role at the City of Toronto as Deputy City Manager. That makes today his final board meeting as CEO. Following Jag's departure, Tom will be assuming those responsibilities with the benefit of that transitional period I mentioned. It's been an incredible experience working side by side with Jag, and on behalf of the board, I would like to thank him for his contributions to TCHC. Jag has made several positive changes to the TCHC ELT, and he began important changes to the processes at TCHC. And we intend to continue on the path Jag has set for TCHC. Jag has been an incredible and excellent leader here and a true force for change in our shared mission to provide more and better homes for Torontonians. Jag, you're taking that mission with you to the City of Toronto, and we're ready to keep working with you alongside your new role as deputy manager. And we thank you again, and we wish you the best of luck in your next chapter. And we can't wait to see what you accomplished at the city. And we certainly hope that TCHC benefits from the work that you do at the city. So thank you so much. And we will be in touch. I also wanted to update everyone on the Ombudsman report, and I wanted to note that at the July City Council meeting, TCHC was granted a further deferral of the council review of this matter to their October council meeting, which is to be held October the 11th to the 13th. As this is after our regularly scheduled board meeting, we will be setting up a special board meeting to address this report, and we will be inviting the ombudsman to attend. I know that there were members of the public that wanted to depute on this matter, and as soon as we have our special board meeting scheduled, we will be publicizing that, and you will certainly have your opportunity to speak to this report. We thank you very much for your patience and cooperation as we finalize the dates, and appreciate your interest and welcome your opportunity to depute on this matter. So,
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure that the service manager is involved in all of these conversations, because it is the city as service manager that deals with all RGI, including RGI transfers, and approves everything that TCHC does. So not having them there in any review would be an issue. So I just wanted to raise this with the board and with you today. Thank you.
we will certainly incorporate that position in our review.
That's a division. Yeah, Jag will know who they are.
Yes, but that review is just ongoing. So we will.
Correct.
Yep. So we will do that.
Specifically asked that they be included in a firm way, because all of our transfer policy and anything that's said about it is actually goes back to the service manager for all RGIs. And the transfer policy was developed with the service manager and approved by the service manager. So I can't stress the importance of that. Thank you.
Okay. And we certainly will take note of that and act on that. So at today's public session, we'll receive reports from the chairs of BIFAC, its committee, the governance committee, and tenant services. And we also have a Q4 2022 strategic priorities quarterly progress report from the Vice President of Strategic Planning and Communications. So that concludes my final, my opening remarks. And I will turn to the agenda and ask if there are any additions or deletions to the agenda as presented. Hearing none, I will ask if there are any conflicts of interest that any members have as it relates to any matters that are on today's public agenda. Okay, hearing none, I will ask if there are any items that any members would like to pull for further discussion. Okay, I do have two. I would like to pull number 4, the minutes from June 27th. And I do have a quick question on 7E. So I will ask, oh, sorry, Lily? Yes?
I have a quick question on 7A.
7A.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So there are no other items that any members want to have pulled? Okay. So could I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the exclusion of items 4, 7A, and 7E? Uba, thank you. Seconder. Joe, thank you. All in favor? Perfect. So we will move to the minutes of our June 27th meeting. And during that meeting, I offered a sincere thank you to Brian Smith as he stepped down from his role as vice chair and chair of the governance committee. And my thank you wasn't noted in the minutes. And I would like it to be included for public record. I know that I'm provided with a script, and I know I went off script when I included my thanks to Brian. So I think that that's why there may have been an oversight, but it certainly was a very sincere thank you. And I'm sorry that Brian's not here, but I would ask that it be included in the minutes.
Thank
We'll
you.
amend the minutes to reflect that.
Okay, thank you very much. So could I ask for a motion to approve the minutes from our June 27th meeting as amended to include my thank you to Brian. Lily, thank you. Joe, seconder, all in favor? Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Dara. And we will move on to item 7A, which is the vendor award for windows, roof replacement, and mechanical upgrades. And I will, that's Alan, and I will turn this over to Lily so she can just ask her questions as it relates to this matter.
Thank you. And actually, similar issue, well, not issue, but I guess question relates probably a little bit to 7C. I just see the mention of TCHC's vendor compliance evaluation system. And I'm wondering, is the data from that system reported back how our vendors are doing? Because I know in my own community, there was a whole retrofit that was happening. It took multiple years. There was scaffolding outside for multiple years that was dangerous for kids, and it just seemed like nothing was getting done. And an additional question would be, why are we not doing the inspections ourselves? Because no one will care about the outcome of a project as much as when it's your own people. When you start to contract out, the vendor compliance and quality control, it's easy for the buck to just get passed. And so just wanting to know, like, what do we have to safeguard this whole system, and what kind of report back is there, since we are getting an external agency to oversee these projects?
Through the chair, I'm happy to answer the questions as I can as it relates to 7A.
Mm-hmm.
For 7C, that's a separate award, and it's a separate type of vendor. But for capital projects, which is what 7A is, we do a contractor performance evaluation that is done at the end of the project, or throughout the course of the project as needed. That is a evaluation that's done by TCHC staff. We also evaluate any consultants that we have on the project. They are evaluated as well. And then those evaluations are put into a database that is maintained by procurement. And we do look at that when we're doing future awards. And that can be taken into consideration. And if a vendor does fail the performance evaluation, then there is we work with our vendor compliance office. And we go through the process, which can result in a vendor being removed from, if they're on a roster, or it could be that they would be removed and not eligible to bid on projects in future. To address, you mentioned about scaffolding, and scaffolding is actually put up to preserve health and safety, because if we're working overhead, for example, and I don't know which project specifically, but if we're doing any overhead work, for example, on balconies, things like that, the scaffolding is there to protect tenants. And projects of large size, balcony replacements, holistic building repairs, they do take multiple years. We certainly understand that it's disruptive to the tenants, but it is necessary work that we need to do. I can also assure you that for large projects, we also do hire health and safety consultants that work with us, and they do regular site inspections to ensure that we're meeting all health and safety requirements, to ensure that there's no dangerous conditions, things like that. And also, I did want to, we don't outsource, so there are consultants that are involved in capital projects, and part of their job is contract administration. And they're an additional set of eyes on the project. We also always have a TCHC staff member from facilities management who is assigned to the project. Now they have more than one project, obviously, that they're assigned to, but they are also assigned to ensure that the work is proceeding, that all health and safety requirements are being met, that we're, working based on they monitor the schedule, they monitor the budget, they report back on the projects through, performing updates, and they would be the ones that would be involved in the completing the contractor performance evaluation. We also do on large capital projects, and there's actually a report that will be going to BIFAC for large capital projects where we have our PPS team, our planned project services team involved. They do survey the tenants at the completion of the project to find out, how the project went from a tenant perspective, and obviously any feedback that we get, then we do use that in future for projects. So there is a multiple, venues for us to get feedback. And also we do have regular project meetings that we hold at the building, and building staff are included in those projects. We consider the building staff, although they're not directly related to the project, they are an extension of the project team. And so tenants always have the opportunity to either provide feedback to the building staff, which we would then get through our regular meetings that we have, as well as if our planned project services team is involved. They are a single point of contact for any concerns that a tenant has, and they make sure that they're visible in the building and that tenants are able to provide any feedback that they have. And they also help explain to the tenants what the project is, what's going to be happening. And we do try to, answer any questions that tenants have and make sure tenants know what's going to be happening. Because with these large projects, absolutely agree that they are very disruptive, but they are necessary. Like we have to do it, and in order to keep our buildings in a state of good repair, they are coming to the point where they are requiring large repairs. We can't just do, specific component repairs. When we get to a certain point in time, then you do need to look at the building holistically.
Thank you. I think it's so important to get the feedback of the residents and for them to know they have a point of contact during any of these projects. I'm not sure if that is across the board done at the same level. I've seen excellent and not so excellent versions where community knows who they can talk to and is very much a part of the project, and in other cases have no idea and don't even know that they have a point of contact. So would love to have an offline conversation with you about it, just because I know it does impact just how communities understand what is happening to their home.
Through the chair, absolutely, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it. And our planned project services team, unfortunately, we don't have the staffing to be able to support all projects, so they have to take a look, and they base it on the impact that the project is going to have to tenants, and also if there's any particular special needs in a building, that can also play into which projects they support. Honestly, if we had unlimited funding, we would love that. We would love to be able to have that team expanded and have them, be part of every project, because we do know that the additional level of support that they provide to a project can make a big difference. But it does come down to the availability of resources. So we do try to have them involved in the projects that are going to impact the tenants the most. So for example, when we're doing items that are in a tenant unit, like a window replacement or a balcony replacement or project like that, they will be more involved, or they will be involved in those types of projects versus for example, if it was just a roof replacement or maybe a boiler replacement, we don't have the staffing available to have them participate in those lower impact projects. And I say lower because I completely recognize that any work we do in a building absolutely is disruptive to our tenants. Their construction is noisy, it's dirty, it's messy, and it does extend, with the large projects, it extends over a larger period of time. But I'm certainly happy to connect with you whenever you'd like.
Thank you.
And then we've got Paula and Uba.
I just wondered, a while ago, a tenant came during a deputation and said, why don't you have a little form that we can fill out when there's repairs in our unit? That was under previous COO, and that was agreed to. So if you're having window replacement, if you're having some kind of repairs that are not just a leaky faucet, but on a vendor, that tenants would be able to say and have an opinion on the performance, because we do get a lot of folks that, anyway, I'm wondering the status of that. I'm sure it exists, or maybe we need to still put it in place.
So thank you for the question, Councillor Fletcher, and through the chair. There is a report, I believe it's being tabled at BIFAC, at the upcoming BIFAC, related to that very question. There's a section specific to the operations vendor response. And so I think that's an area of work we need to continue to grow upon. We did historically do a pilot program, I think it was called Closing the Loop, where we did have a form and a feedback opportunity for tenants. We do get it informally through the superintendents, but it is something that we need to revisit and put back in place. And so we'll hope to bring that report back to BIFAC that will speak to the specific steps we'll be taking to do that.
Was there something wrong with the pilot?
That I don't have the information on, Councillor Fletcher. It was before my time, but that's what the team's looking into, and we can reference that in the report.
I guess I'm not really looking for a report. I'm just looking for tenants to be able to give their feedback. So we have too many reports, not enough action. So I'd like you, Jag, before you go, or Tom and Nadia, to be very clear about what happened with that, because that was a very good suggestion that we got. The tenant satisfaction, they're going to tell us how the vendor's doing in their unit. They're not going to tell us how the vendor's doing with the boiler replacement or major capital, but these minor capital repairs that are not a leaky faucet, but are in buildings. I just think that to serve tenants, we need to hear back how it's going for them. And I'm really shocked to hear that we had a pilot, not under your watch, Ms. Gavea, but there was a pilot and now it's gone and we don't even know what happened. So forget all that. That was a board request. Could we please hear from our tenants how things are going so we can serve them better? Number one. By the time we get a report and agree to that, we'll be 6 months out. I don't think you need a report to actually implement the loop from these minor repairs in buildings. That'd be my opinion, but I'm going to leave that up to you, Mr. Murray and Jag, to sort out how that could happen. And you, Chair. Thank you. The other thing is there was a vendor investigation years ago. I haven't had any updates. So, Chair, I'd like you to put that on private session, please. Upcoming next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Uba.
Thank you. I agree with Paula in terms of the having that feedback. It's really important because a lot of times we do these works and either it's half done or it's fully done, but we haven't heard. My question is, when we're renovating and building and doing all this great work, do we hire tenants to do some of the works? Because I think we have a lot of talent, in-house talent from the tenants.
Through the chair, I can speak from a capital perspective. All of our work is tendered. However, we do have companies that work with us that do hire tenants for sure. We also do hire tenant organizations such as Building Up that employ through our social enterprise policy that employ, they have to employ a certain percentage of TCHC staff, TCHC tenants. And we do use a company through our social procurement policy, building up, and they do a lot of work for us. You know, when we're helping tenants move furniture, or you know, taking down window coverings, putting up window coverings, cleaning rads as part of the retrofit project. So there absolutely are businesses that employ tenants that are doing works for us when we're doing the capital project.
Are there any other questions for Alan as it relates to 7A? Okay, so we've got a couple of takeaways from this. So Dara, I hope that you've noted both of them.
I have.
Perfect, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the vendor award for window roof replacement and mechanical upgrades at 3680 Keel Street? Uba, thank you. Seconder? Lily, thank you. All in favor? Perfect. Thank you very much. And we'll move to item 7E, which was the item that I held. Alan, I think that this is you. Oh, no, I guess it's Nadia. My question just relates to standards. Are vendors, the vendor contracts, do they include timelines as far as turnover? Anyway, if you could tell what the KPIs are for the vendor so that we can understand.
So through the chair, thank you for the question, Chair Emery. I will also ask Richard Grosh, our Senior Director of Business Operations, to speak to this as well. But we do have standards and we do have timelines and turnaround times, as well as expected delivery. So Richard, I don't know if you want to expand on that.
Thank you. And through the chair, there are service standards associated to this and the other contracts of like scope. What we have established is service standards around basic inventories to carry out the products. So each proponent was required to develop and maintain and provide us evidence that they can maintain an inventory of the key products that they're using, such as flooring, as we're all aware of, was a key challenge last year. So they must maintain about a 6-month inventory based on the baseline data of key products to keep the work going. They're also required to meet our a 90-day window for turnaround on the units as part of our service levels required to the City of Toronto. So there is baseline data. We've also established
Sorry, our turnaround time is 90 days?
It's a 90.
The reason I raise this is because we talk about vacancies and filling the vacancies, and 90 days seems a lot to me to turn around a unit.
So through the chair, the service standard is established by the service manager at the City of Toronto. Okay. It is a 90-day. 90 days includes from the notice period, so the 30-day notice period.
Oh, okay.
So that's, yes, sorry.
Okay.
So it's a 30-day notice period, a 30-day turnover, and it also includes the matching process through the centralized wait list to leasing and move-in. So 90-day period.
So it's a 60-day period because it's not vacant until that. So it's from vacancy to being filled. Let's be clear. Let's ask the service manager, what is the industry standard? I understand it's 30 days. So how does that compare? And why does the service manager give TCHC an extra 30 days? I think that's my question, Adele, and you might just want to speak to the service manager at the city and establish exactly what's happening. We wish to ask for a different standard. Or JAG might be able to answer that.
And can I ask, when you talk about this matching period for 30 days, when does that matching start?
So the matching goes through different cycles in the choice-based rental system. So a unit is posted on the choice-based system. The periods last approximately 2 weeks, and then individuals will actually bid on a residential unit. And then it's awarded based on the ranking within the centralized wait list. So,
but is that not done until the work is completed, or is
Right.
it prior to that?
So through the chair, in most cases, the work has to be at minimum 90% completed in order to carry out the photography to post it on the system. So units are photographed now and placed on the choice-based system. So There could be minor work that does continue after the unit's been posted on the choice-based system, but it would be minimal things like final touch cleaning, or deficiency touch-ups.
Okay, and can I ask, are there any rewards for vendors who complete the work early? Are there any penalties for vendors that complete the work late?
Through you, Chair, there are penalties for not completing the work on time, daily penalties on the move-out contract.
Okay.
However, we have not, JAG has asked us to look at a future opportunity where we can reward vendors that are exceeding the service standard. So we're still working on that.
Okay, so in these contracts, are there liquidated damages in these contracts, and are there incentives for, completing the work early?
There is, through the chair, there is no incentives for completing early, but there is penalties for failing to meet the timelines, yes.
So there are liquidated damages. There's a
Yes.
daily rate that is deducted, and we actually,
That is correct.
okay, and we apply those liquidated damages.
We do.
Okay, and can I ask why incentives are not included?
Through the chair, that would be a very new thing for us as TCHC. JAG has asked us to start looking at that for where vendors are exceeding the service standard. And that work is underway.
And the reason I ask this is because the turnover it's been an issue that's been talked about a lot. And so this is a way to shorten that time frame. And as Paula said, we do have to look at the standards. Lily?
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm just wondering about the waiting to have a photo, because that seems to be a critical piece to then activating the search for a new tenant. And if we're using standardized materials, then you would eventually have a catalog of photos that represent the available units. And even if the photos are not the exact unit, if you have a floor plan and a photo of all the finishings as they are standardized, could the photo piece not be done earlier, which would then help the matching? It could be done concurrently with so you could actually save 30 days if you were able to not have to wait for 90% completion.
Through you, Chair, you're absolutely correct. The choice-based system, the new system in which requires us to upload photographs, is a newer system, and I mean newer as in the last 24 months. It does require us to upload photos. And initially when the system was developed, they wanted exact photos of the exact unit. It's through our engagement with the service manager that we have gotten to a place where we've agreed that provided it is the same municipal address that we're photographing and it is the same floor layout or floor plan, then we can use the like for like photos. So we are using those for like photos as we speak. The good news is that we have actually uploaded most floor plan layouts at this point for our portfolio. It's been a lot of work considering our portfolio.
So is there a goal, I guess, to then move towards shrinking that time from 90 to 60 or 60 to 30, depending on where the other 30 resides?
Through the chair, there's always the goal of shrinking that time, and we'll continue to try and get to that place.
Is there that data being tracked, like a dashboard of the units that are, their turnover rate, how many are available? I think it'd be really helpful to have such a visible dashboard to track what's happening, because this is such an important part of, keeping our stock in action rather than being parked. So it's visible, it increases visibility and accountability.
Through the chair, the data is available and we are looking at that data on a daily basis. We have, with the leadership of JAG, developed our business intelligence and dashboards that we're able to look real time at units. We're able to measure the movement and where they sit within the process. So we're actually able to identify right down to certain points in the process where things become delayed, whether it's mill work or otherwise. And it's that level of oversight that's actually contributed to us having the vacancy levels that we have today. So
Amazing. I would
continuing to
love
evolve.
to see the dashboard if possible.
So
Or-
through the chair, absolutely, we can bring something potentially back through TSC. So I do want to acknowledge that we have undertaken a lean process mapping specifically for the vacancy piece. And so we're looking at elements and phases in the process that actually contribute to delays and looking at efficiencies. So that's work that's underway right now. To Richard's point, we do have, I think, the lowest vacancy rate we've had in multiple years. We're at 1.45% as of June. And so we continue to see that number come down, but there are additional days that are in the system that we think we can be a little bit more efficient on. So that work's underway and happy to bring that information back through TSC.
Amazing. Thank you.
Paula?
Yeah, those are the vacancies, of which there's 763 real ones, and then there's some we list demolished as a vacant home. I think we have to change our dashboard. Adele, if this requires you to have a discussion with the service manager, I think you should. How many are sitting in the 90-day period? Are those 763 in the 90-day period? I think they're outside the 90-day period. Those are completely vacant, ready to rent. But now there's some that are sitting within your described 90-day period. How many?
So through the chair, what we're planning to do for the next TSC, we're planning to break it down. So we have a section called maintenance required, and those are units that are still underway, meaning they're not ready to be put on the system. And then the rest of the units are in various, like we have units offer received or offer signed, and we're still waiting for the final documentation from the tenant. And we're working with the service manager to expedite that process. So there's varying levels and phases within the system. They're not all necessarily stuck in the maintenance required section.
Right.
So what we're trying to do is maximize that element, but also the administrative pieces as well.
I just need my question answered. Are the ones in the 90-day system part of the 763 free and clear vacant units that are in the report at Toronto at the seniors? At the tenant services committee.
I think that's the number. So Richard, I don't know if you can confirm
Are
that.
they inside or outside of that?
Meaning, do we meet the 90-day target for the ones?
The 763 are vacant, ready to rent? Or is the 763 vacant, ready to rent in the 90-day period, being fixed up, not having been rented yet? So there's a difference. Are they post 90 days or are the 90 days part of the 763 ready that are?
Richard, do you know the answer to that?
It's kind of an important number.
Through the chair, I think it would be important to bring this back and be able to affirm it.
Well, why don't you send the information to the chair so we're not always waiting for committee meetings, because then it goes to the board. I'm looking at you, Jag, because this is these. And then I would like to understand around the 90 days. I'd like that conversation to come back from the staff and the service manager, why they're including that time that you've given the person the 30-day notice as part of the 90-day to get it done. That seems silly. So it's a 60-day period. And I think all the tenants know exactly what I'm going to say. When you post something about here's this going to be coming up, coming soon, this unit at such and such an address, tenants know if they want to live there or not at that address. Am I right? Yes. They all know, oh no, I'm not going to that place. Oh, that's too far away. I'm looking for something closer. So you already know that you're not starting at zero. You're self-selecting in. And I think the city service manager has a lot to trim this down from industry standard. And I know the former deputy mayor and was very big on this at this TCHC board, and now we seem to be back at zero, back to the same place that we were before. And I'm streaming her here today that there is an industry standard. Why doesn't the city use it? Why can't we use it? What needs to be changed in order to have not sitting out there all those vacant units? And how do we make sure they're turned around quicker? Because at Christmas in the seniors building, there were 6 empty units and many of them been empty for months. Because everybody knows what's going on in their building and they'll tell you. The tenants will tell me. Sorry, that's my request on it. Thank you.
Ziva?
Hey, thank you, Chair. I'm still gathering my thoughts on whether this is an actual question or comment when it comes to vacancies. But in Lawrence Heights right now, there's currently a revitalization that's happening, and tenants have came up to me personally in regards to available vacancies because they are in the process of moving tenants from their homes, obviously, because the infrastructure is being demolished. So when it comes to vacancy areas, what is the process for residents to choose where they live, especially if they want to live in the community that they're already in? Because a lot of tenants have that questions about vacant areas in their area that they live in currently.
So through the chair, I don't know, Jessica, if you're able to speak to the relocation process related to that question, because that's specific to a Revite site, and that's a relocation process that the development team oversees.
Okay, I would love to get the answer for that. That would be, thanks.
Thanks, Nadia, through the chair, and thank you, Director Ferrara. Specifically to Lawrence Heights, which is has a zero displacement requirement as part of our relocation processes. So we do collect units within Lawrence Heights for relocations as part of our process. This varies community to community depending on the commitments that were made as part of the revitalization.
Yeah, so I understand the zero displacement policy. However, people have been displaced. That's one. But two, when it came to vacancy, because I know in the early 2000s, when people were moving out of their units will remain vacant until people were getting relocated. What is the process now? And what is the accountability that's held when it comes to ensuring that tenants who are relocating have access to vacant units in the community?
Through the chair, Director Ferrara, maybe I'll paraphrase back to you the question that I think you're asking, and maybe to make sure I've got it correctly and that I'm answering it for you. Is your question more specifically about overhouse and underhouse opportunities for tenants within the community, or the selection process of being matched with their relocation unit?
So I think it's more, yeah, the matching the selection with the vacancy options in TCHC.
Can I, Jessica, could I ask maybe you speak to Ziva about this offline? Because we're really getting on to something that has nothing to do with 7E, which is the turnovers and the vacancy as it relates to the turnovers. Now we're moving into revitalizations. So Ziva, could I ask that you speak to Jessica to understand that process?
Yeah, thank you.
Offline.
Yeah, I had to bring that up. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that. Because I think it's a much bigger topic than 7E.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have a number of takeaways from this as it relates to reporting. I am happy to work with Nadia and Richard and Jag as it relates to reporting, but I do think that this has to be a regular report that goes to tenant services and provides the information that board members and specifically committee members are looking to see. And then I think there's some just Jag.
Just to be helpful, Chair Emery, I believe Nadia had indicated that there was the intent to bring the updated reporting and analysis to TSC. I think along with the request from Councillor Fletcher, that bringing that new reporting to TSC will be helpful. It's where we are now, and it will enable conversations around how we can look at more analysis going forward that would be of interest to our board and helpful to driving our results.
And so that new reporting incorporates Paula's questions as it relates to.
It allows us to respond to it. We will we'll be able to do that analysis and get it back to yourself and the board quickly. But once again, I think the seeing that reporting will be helpful for the board to have a line of sight as to the types of things that we have that we have visibility on and that we can begin to drive decision making with.
Perfect. And I understand that both Lily and Paula sit on TSC. Is that correct? So they will see this new reporting. Okay, and then we can discuss with the service manager. And I recommend that you look at how you can incorporate your vendors in reducing this turnover. I do think that that's an opportunity that TCHC should consider.
So once
Sorry,
again,
Jack, you wanted to, yep.
Just to reinforce, and Richard had indicated it, this is an effort that we are, so one, we're using the lean methodology mapping of the process. Number two, we're looking at our vendors and their performance. But number three, we are looking at incentives and penalties and how we could utilize them more effectively going forward, because I don't think we penalize our way to success. I think once again, if we create the right incentives for our contractors, that we could achieve essentially much faster turnarounds, and to the benefit of both, where, you know, of course, faster turnaround means revenue and rent for us as a corporation. And so there's a benefit to both if we do it right.
Yes. Anyway, that was the reason for my original question, but so are there any other comments on 7E, the move out unit turnover program? Okay, so could I have a motion, excuse me, a motion to approve? Joe, thank you. Could I have a seconder? Lily, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. And Dare, I hope you've noted the takeaways from this.
Have.
And I hope TSC will have the opportunity to review the new reporting. Is there any other matters to come before the board? Hearing none, could I have a motion to terminate the meeting? Ziva, thank you. A seconder? Joe? All in favor? And I thank you very much for your time today.